Hey, Pastor Nick here with Take 5. 5 minutes in the middle of your week just to take a break from all that life has to offer. Take some time to study the Word of God with me, refresh, recharge your batteries, and consider what this life is all about. So today I take you to Luke chapter 18. Luke 18, Jesus is in the middle of his ministry, spending his time teaching the people about who he is, and he tells this parable. In fact, the Bible, Luke 18, verse 9, says that he told it to those who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and viewed others with contempt. You see, it was a society much like it is today, that the bulk of our meaning was based on those who had worked hard enough to consider themselves righteous, and in it they had built up, in their arrogance and pride, a belief that they could do it when others couldn't. Jesus looks at them and he tells this parable. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. Now you see, in this society, the Pharisees were the most religious and righteous externally of all people. They kept rules beyond rules beyond rules to make sure that they did the right things in all times, in all places, and really had themselves buttoned up and on the outside looked as if everything had been done the way that it should. The tax collectors, on the other hand, were the lowest of lows in that society. They had sold out their family and their friends and their fellow countrymen to the Roman Empire, doing the Rome's dirty work by collecting taxes. And even in that traitor-like relationship, they had gone even further. Many of them were lining their own pockets with excessive collections. And so they were both viewed as traitors to their people and thieves among their own society. And so they were the lowest of lows. And so Jesus draws a contrast between those who trusted in their own righteousness as the best of the best and those who would not be considered righteous by any stretch of the imagination. It says, these 2 men go up to the temple to pray. Then he goes on and says, the Pharisee stood and was praying this to himself. God, I thank you that I am not like other people, swindlers, adulterers, unjust, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I pay tithes on all that I get. Jesus says, in fact, his prayer is to himself, not to God. It's a time of bragging about all of the things that he's done to view himself as righteous. And then he contrasts it with this. But the tax collector, standing some distance away, was even unwilling to lift up his eyes to heaven, but beating his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. You see, mercy, the mercy of God that the tax collector had called on, was God's salvation in times of peril, in times of distress. And the tax collector, recognizing that he had placed himself in that peril, in that distress, that he was a sinner, is the same truth, the same reality that each of us need to recognize. That though we could trust in ourselves for righteousness, we would find that it would fall short time and time again. Because like me, you are a sinner, that you have done things wrong. You haven't done good enough. And so you can try to, in your pride, show off some spiritual resume, but like the tax collector, the way that Jesus instructs us to be is humble, to see ourselves as in need of the mercy of God. Now, fortunately, what Jesus would do just a short time after that is he would go to the cross to pay for, to absorb our punishment of sin and take it upon himself so that God's mercy would be displayed through him. And by faith in him, we would have salvation, that God has mercy on us sinners. What a joyous thing that is. Nothing better than that. I hope you have an awesome week. We'll see you soon.